This is question 6. What have you learnt about technologies from the process of constructing this product?
Jessica Massey and I was the producer. Rebecca Wood, the editor.
I'm Mara McCloskey and I was the director.
One of the pieces of technology that I had to learn to use was Adobe After Effects. This is because I used it to create the Cloak and Dagger films indent and also the Welch and Spalding Productions indent. To create the Welch and Spalding Productions indent, I based it on the globe that I'd already created, which you can find on YouTube. I used tutorials to make this, as well as putting my own touch on it. For the tutorials, it showed me how to make the globes, put a reflection on the globes, and different backgroundings, tilts and angles. To make it like our own, I added different colours, different movements, and also the titling of Welch and Spalding Productions. However, it was the wrong colour for the theme of film we were doing, so therefore where this should have been in our film, there is now a BBFC certificate stating the age of our film. Also, to make the Cloak and Dagger films production indent, I also used Adobe After Effects. To do this, I got the help of Thomas Bagshaw, a friend who also does graphic design. He helped me create the basic animation, hence why it's not so detailed, not smooth on the edges kind of thing. And then transfer this over to After Effects so I could add the movement and sound, and also the titling again of the Cloak and Dagger films, which you can see the finished product on our film.
On Photoshop, I created the indent that Jess was talking about, which replaced Welch and Spalding Productions. Basically, I just took like an indent for a normal film and then just put incognito over the top, so it was like for ours. I also used Photoshop for the blur on the Facebook profile, for the flash cuts at the end of the film. Moving on to After Effects, I used this to create the incognito title at first, based on this tutorial I'd seen on YouTube. Then I used the principles that I learned from the original one to create the days of the week like titles and the video glitch on Thursday.
I came up with the Friday scenes we did practice shots of, and I edited together sort of the practice shots scene that was just on a Windows Media Player app, I think. And I also constructed the Twitter page whereby we were able to advertise incognito and give people updates of the filming process.
Another element which I was in charge of on the Friday shoot, as I wasn't acting in this, was the audio. To do this, we used a boom mic and an audio device connected to this mic. The difficult part wasn't learning how to use the audio device, it was mainly following the action with the pole and keeping it out of the camera shot at the same time. And seeing as we did this in a fight scene as well, it was quite difficult to follow the action, while keeping it out of shot, and also pick up the audio as there was construction going off as well, so it was a difficult shoot to do with the audio scene, but it kind of paid off on some elements, like in the fighting, but you can hear like the pain, like the grunts and that a bit clearer.
But from that, I suppose we learned that we didn't anticipate that there was going to be construction on the day. Yeah. But even though we had like a separate recording device, it still sort of interfered with it.
Yeah.
So that wasn't really on our side.
Another thing we made was the teaser clip to put on our Twitter page. To do this, we got the footage that we'd already done, because we'd only done the Tuesday scene, I think, and the Wednesday. So we condensed this footage we got, which introduced the characters to the audience, and then incorporate the title, which Becky was talking about making earlier on Adobe After Effects, and the inclusion of like our Facebook, Twitter, Instagram links at along the bottom to make it look that extra bit professional to anyone who saw this clip.
Yeah. Going to camera, I used a 35mm lens to do the focus pull on Wednesday and part of Tuesday. This was because like 35mm has like a shallower depth of focus, so you can get like much nicer focus pulls with that kind of lens rather than the standard. It also like introduces the characters, I feel like a lot more, like including like the voiceover, which Lauren did. Premiere Pro, this was like used for like the majority of the footage, from like colour grading to like adding the sound in. The colour grading was different for each day, like to set the mood, etc. The first day was like enhanced red and blue to like bring out the graffiti, suggesting like conventions and stuff.
Yeah, it was. It was to heighten the graffiti, wasn't it? The brightness of that. It's because it was quite the undertone of the colours, but then there was the bright red on the wall, which we quite liked. There was also the voiceover, the audio recorder, as the protagonist, and I was there to provide the voiceover, which I recorded on a separate audio device, and that went throughout the opening, and we got the idea from Goodfellas and the opening to Trainspotting, whereby they use voiceover to introduce the characters and explain the disposition of the protagonist, which we wanted to include to provide more clarity, as we thought that without it wouldn't be very clear who were the enemies and what the protagonist had done and whether they were good or bad. Although it's not really clear anyway. Yeah. We also used technologies to communicate, such as Facebook Messenger chats. We FaceTimed and Skyped in chat rooms. We emailed updated versions of the editing backwards and forwards, so whenever Becky had added more to it as the days went on, she would email them out, and then I'd say whether this needed work on or whether it was up to standard. Not up to standard, but whether it was
what we imagined.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What we imagined as a group.
Where you want it.
Yeah.
Wanted it to go.
I think one
Or
thing
exec.
that I didn't really use before this on email was the OneDrive.
Yeah. Yeah, Google Drive, the sort of
Yeah, and the OneDrive on our school email, which is Outlook, isn't it?
yeah,
We had to
365.
use that because the files are way too big.
Yeah, as it
Well,
got to
maybe,
be.
yeah.
That's one element of the email on Outlook I've not really used, so that was one piece of technology that I'd learned how to use and
Yeah.
go into before
We learned
to
that
access.
the bigger the files got, the worse quality it got when it was trying to condense it into email formats.
Yeah.
So we
And
ended up
sometimes
having
it
to.
didn't play on certain
Yeah, no,
laptops and
yeah.
devices.
Yeah.
There were
The bigger
times
the
when some of us couldn't view it,
yeah.
or one of us couldn't view it because they were using a different laptop.
Yeah, it's just kind of we found out that while trying to show each other what we got, different technologies like laptops, computers, phones enabled us to view different things. For example, like, I think you had one where it didn't have sound, but it was sound was fine on mine.
It also was dependent on the file format you
Yeah.
exported it as.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
there were many times when you emailed it to me and I changed the format from it because mine just wouldn't read one of them.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
I think
Near
that's-
the end, I think they played on like everything. I think they even played on like phones.
Yeah,
I
it
think
did.
that's just some difficulties that we've had to come across.
Yeah,
And
it's
then-
something we didn't really think about.
And another one that I didn't know that you could do, or didn't know how to do, should I say, was put the age restriction on the YouTube video.
Yeah, no, I hadn't known how to do that.
No, like, because when we put it on, it was suggested that we put an age restriction on due to the strong language and the violence within it.
Yeah, and because of our intended audience anyway, we were wanting to show that it was 15 to 34 was sort of our age range. We didn't want anyone younger than that sort of viewing it without
Yeah, the other thing with that is it's like the age restriction from 18 as well, not the 15.
Yeah,
intended.
it's standard on YouTube that if you put an age restriction on it, it's 18 up plus,
Yeah, and
which was a problem for us. But
I think I researched, I researched that one, whether you can change that or not, and then it said it's a standard thing you can't change. So
yeah,
when
so we
putting
learned
that
from
on,
that
we were a bit limited to who our audience could see, but
yeah, we were apprehensive about it. But I suppose it's better for our intended audience that we did it as an age restriction anyway. Plus, I
Yeah.
suppose because of the nature of its content, it's probably best that it's
Yeah.
got an age restriction.